Welcome to Aging Insights. I'm Melissa Chonker, Executive Director of the New Jersey Foundation for Aging. The Foundation's mission is to enable seniors to live with independence and dignity in their communities. Aging Insights is produced by the New Jersey Foundation for Aging to provide information and resources to boomers, seniors, and caregivers. Today we're going to talk about ageism. What does that mean? Well, think about how you talk about getting older and ask yourself, is it okay to joke about the aging process? What kind of language do the people around you use when talking about aging? Our guests will help us define what ageism is, share stories and examples, and talk about ways to correct it. Joining me today are Jean Kohler, faculty member and program coordinator of the MSW Aging and Certificate Program at Rutgers School of Social Work, and Marcy Salzberg, director of Social Work and Dementia Care at Services at Parker. So thank you both, ladies, for joining me today. I'm really excited to have you here and to talk about this topic. And Jean, I did want to start with you. If you could first tell us a little bit about yourself and your work, and we'll get into it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you taking the time. I am on faculty at Rutgers School of Social Work, and I oversee the Aging and Health Certificate Program. However, as an individual person, I decided to really get involved with this issue of fighting ageism. And ageism is really any discrimination based on age, whether it's blatant discrimination or indirect discrimination. It could impact any person at any age, so any birth cohort, but typically older adults really get the brunt of that.
Yeah, so I'm glad you jumped right in with the definition of ageism, because that was really where we wanted to start with this conversation, is defining for people what it means, and I'm glad that you mentioned that it affects anyone of any age, because we can discriminate based on anyone's age.
Absolutely.
And we tend to make some generalizations sometimes about different age cohorts and things. But as you mentioned, it is specifically often targeted towards the older adult population. So can you talk a little bit more about that in terms of the stereotypes and myths that we might most often associate with that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think ageism is really rampant, and we don't even realize how entrenched it is with our society and with us as individuals. You see it in everyday life, for example, with birthdays, which are celebrations, when people are turning ages anywhere under 30. And the cards are roughly, hey, this is great, good for you, you have a lot of things ahead of you. As soon as you hit the 30 mark, it's all downhill. And so the cards will show, good news and bad news. The good news is you're older than I am. The bad news is you're the one turning 30 or something like that.
Right.
And so it's always with humor, but there's definitely a message that's sent that from the age of 30 onwards, that it's a negative experience. Black balloons, condolence cards, these types of things, again, always touched with humor, but to really show that this is a negative process, even though from the time we're born, we're all aging. Right. Other common societal messages that we get. We have anti-aging products. So just think of the term anti-aging. There's definitely a clear message about what we're saying to all consumers, is that aging is not good, and we want to try and fight that in any way possible.
Given some really great examples, and I'm sure that anyone watching can relate to that if they've ever celebrated their own or a family or friend's milestone birthday, and they go to the party store and you get to that section, and you're right, anything 30 and above, there starts this negative image of getting to that age, especially into the 50 and 60 realm is when you start seeing the jokes about pills for your memory, or over the hill, and all of the examples that you gave of instead of celebrating this thing that's supposed to be, oh look, I'm another year older, I'm still here, I'm vital, and looking at it in the positive way that we should, especially as young as they start that negativity in the 30 and the 40 age range, when we should be looking at that age as, wow, we're hopefully not even halfway there yet, right? With the longevity that we're experiencing now, in society, that we shouldn't be looking at those ages in particular, or any age, as, oh, this is the end for me, or oh, look at all these things I can no longer do, right?
Absolutely.
And so the extension of that is that not only do we see it in the products we buy, but also in the media, right?
Absolutely. I mean, go on any show and you'll see depictions of older adults as certain types. They're either decrepit, cranky, hunched over, using canes or walkers, or you have this super image, the 100-year-old who is doing cartwheels and on the balance beams or what have you. So really you get these messages that somehow most people fall in one of those two camps.
Right.
And again, the messages are really decidedly on the negative end. And even in the professional arena, people will make comments about, oh, I'm getting older, and what does that mean in terms of my work and my ability of doing work. And workplace discrimination is one of the fallouts of ageism. And there are many fallouts in terms of the side effects or the consequences of it.
Yeah, I mean, certainly workplace discrimination in terms of age is a huge factor. What are some of the other areas, since you mentioned it, that we might see a fallout from ageism?
Yeah, I mean, one that I think is probably the hugest is that we internalize these negative messages, and that internalization of ageist ideas impacts our health, it impacts our longevity. So it actually, they find a connection between people who have a more negative association with aging doing worse in terms of physical and emotional health. Other areas that also impact because of ageism is not just, of course, the health and the wellness and the workplace discrimination, but also they're looking at elder abuse. The care of older adults, is that impacted because of ageist ideas? Some literature suggests that it does. There's also a shortage currently in terms of caring for older adults. And there also seems to be evidence that suggests that really there's a connection with ageist ideas and willingness and openness to work with older adults.
Sure. I mean, I'm sure when you ask young people what they want to study in college or what careers they're looking at getting into, as they get older, none of them are going to necessarily volunteer for something that's in the field of aging in most cases, right? And so what can we do about addressing that at the college level and other areas?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I mean, what they do find, and this is the positive, is that once people are exposed to working with older adults, they're more likely to want to work with older adults. And so it's really doing some outreach, education, consciousness raising about this, and social action. So there's really different prongs of strategies that you could do to try and get the word out, get people more aware of this, and get people exposed, because once you get that exposure, like I said, they might be more willing to go into the field, or at least be more receptive to going into the field.
Right. So, it's really about promoting that positive image of aging and exposing people to it in a positive light, so that because we are going to face a critical time with an increase in the population of older adults in our country, that we're going to need people to be in aging services and just in general serve that population, right?
Absolutely. We currently have the shortage, and that shortage is going to grow.
Exactly.
Especially as we get a ballooning of the numbers of people that are older adults.
So why is it really important for us to talk about ageism and try to break down some of these negative stereotypes?
Well, I think for all those reasons, we want to really start looking at aging as a more positive experience. We're all aging from the time we're born, and so really looking at it more as opportunity. And Radical Age is a organization in New York City that actually decided, hey, let's do something to combat ageism and to fight for age justice. And it's a grassroots organization in the city, like I mentioned, and they're trying to get the word out because it's not going to help if we keep it in just one region. We want to really try and branch out and have everyone more aware, really, more conscious of these issues.
So as you mentioned, earlier, ageism is rampant, and we see it in so many facets of our day-to-day lives. And so, as you said, this group in New York has started this Radical Age movement to address that.
Right.
And you've started a chapter right here in New Jersey. Is that right? So
yes,
tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah. Well, first, I should probably back up and just say what their primary goal and mission is. And I do need my glasses classes for this. I have.
We want to make sure
See,
we
this would
get
be
it
an
right.
opportunity for an ageist remark, but I'm going to
Well, some of
ignore
us
that.
have had bad eyes our whole life, so we can't blame it on age, right?
Right. So their main goal is to end the misperceptions and skewed attitudes toward aging so that people of all ages, races, classes, genders, and sexualities can participate productively in areas of cultural, professional, and community life. And that's a mouthful, but basically what they're trying to do, and they use the acronym RISE, is really promote respect, so R for RISE, I, inclusion, S, security, and E, equality. They're really looking to better the lives of all older adults. And it's not just good for older adults, it's good for all of society. So all ages should be very aware and very interested in advocating for all people, including older adults.
Sure. And we often tell young people that getting involved in aging services, or even when people are looking into building age-friendly communities and working on those pieces, it's when it's friendly for someone older, it's friendly for all, but we're also preparing for the future when we all get to that age cohort, right?
Yeah,
to that grouping.
Right.
So. It's important for us to look at it from that standpoint. So I think it's great to understand where that started in New York and what their mission and goals are. And so tell us a little bit then about New Jersey's chapter.
Sure. No, thank you. So in terms of the New Jersey chapter, I really felt that, again, disseminating the information was paramount. And so keeping it within New York City is only one piece of it. Right. And so I wanted to do something more local. And so I decided to individually pursue starting a chapter. I went through the New York City organization. They have all sorts of materials for chapters. And fortunately, as I reached out to people, including yourself, about this movement, I had lots of interested people, not just people in the aging community itself, but also people that just have the interest. Some MSW students, some alum, some agencies, and some people that I just know personally really have shown interest in this. And we are following New York City's goal, and we're also following their strategy, which is three-pronged. It's education, social action, and consciousness raising. Again, really kind of getting people more aware of what is going on, and hopefully that will then start generating some change.
Yeah. So the goals of the New Jersey chapter then are similar to that of the New York City organization, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so what are some of the activities that you hope that the New Jersey chapter might participate in going forward?
Yeah. So what's really exciting and encouraging is we already have some activities that are in the works. We have been meeting since the summer, so we're a relatively new chapter. But we are doing some voter mobilization campaigns. So this is an effort to just get the word out for people to vote, that it's important at midterm elections, not just at presidential elections, to have your voice be heard. So we're going to be involved with some efforts in that area. We also, SAGE New York City is a large group for LGBT older adults, services and advocacy for GLBT elders. And each year they they have a SAGE table, which invites people of different generations to participate and share bread and really talk about aging in the LGBT community. So there are some members of the local chapter that are going to be hosting the SAGE tables. I believe we're going to be having 2 of those. We're also going to participate in a program that is getting sponsored by Montclair's Lifelong Montclair. It's Changing Aging Tour. They're coming and they're talking about the whole concept of reframing aging. And at that event, we're going to be staffing a table there and really giving out more information at that venue as well.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note that, as you said, the New Jersey chapter is new. And so as you work through the goals and things that you'd like to do, there will be more coming out. And the goal really is to promote it and let people know about the issue. And so when we can get out and do those sort of things, I think it's great to participate in. So
absolutely.
I'm really excited to see what happens with it going forward and see how that goes. I did want to go back to one thing because I failed to do it in the beginning. But when we keep talking about the Rutgers School of Social Work and the MSW program, not all of our viewers might know what MSW stands for. And so we should probably, we get in the habit of speaking in acronyms and we forget to tell people what they are. So
an MSW is a master's degree in social work. Right. And so that part of the school is social work. And so it's a graduate program. So students who are interested in furthering their education in the general field of social work can go into that. Right. And with the certificate program for aging and health, it's actually a program embedded within the MSW program. So students who have a strong interest in the aging and health field can specialize in it. Right. Essentially, it's like having a major. Right. And that's the part that I'm involved with. So at the school, I'm sort of preaching to the choir with issues like ageism. Right. So that's, again, part of I think my interest in branching out and extending that message to other people in the community.
Absolutely, and I just wanted to make sure that we let people know that what you're doing at Rutgers is educating future social workers, people who are getting a master's degree in that profession, and that they can concentrate in health and aging as they do that. So I thought it was important for us to go back to that. Marcy, thank you also for joining us today. I would like to spend some time talking with you in particular about this issue as well and how it intersects with your career. So if you would maybe start and tell us a little bit about your job and how you got involved in the world of aging.
So currently I'm the Director of Social Work and Dementia Care Services at Parker. Parker is an aging services organization, so we actually see people throughout the aging spectrum, and we offer services and programs such as assisted living, nursing home, adult day services. We have a health and wellness center that is open to the community, in addition to a child day center. So if you think about it, we really do see people throughout that spectrum. Even those coming from the hospital needing a short-term stay, we do have rehab services as well.
So when you provide that variety of services, as you said, you really do catch people at all their different points in the process, even all the way down to the kids who are coming to the preschool program.
Absolutely, right? and Parker's vision actually is that we make aging part of life. Yes. So that in and of itself really speaks to the fact that we recognize that aging happens throughout one's lifespan, right?
and that is the absolute truth. Aging is part of life because, as Jean said, it starts right from birth. From birth, we're all aging, right? That's so right. It's we've come to, as a society, give it a definition of a certain age group or an older age, but it really is a lifelong process. And so I think that is one of the reasons why it's important for us to talk about this today. So I know that you're very passionate about ageism, so could you give us some examples of ways that you've recently intersected with this topic in your personal and professional life?
So in my personal life, I came across an issue that occurred a couple months ago at my son's school. I got an email from the school saying that tomorrow we're going to be celebrating the 100th day of school. And in order to celebrate, we encourage you to dress your child as though they were 100 years old. So I looked at that email and I thought about it for a few minutes and I said to myself, gee, well, what does that mean? How am I supposed to dress my son who was attending the school? And the more I thought about it, the more that I realized that I was really uncomfortable with that notion. So I felt compelled to say something, and I'm not usually the type that does. And so I sent the principal an email, and it was very respectful, and I sort of just kind of wanted to point out to her that in my world, in the aging services world, we don't really see people at 100, like for us it's just every day. It's if I'm going to send my son to school dressed as 100, I'm going to send him in his sweatpants and his Adidas shoes, because many of our elders who are older dress like that. They don't dress any different than you and I do. So I was essentially trying to create a paradigm shift there.
And I think what you're getting at is that this does perpetuate the stereotypes that Jean talked about in the open of the show. Correct. That we have this negative connotation of what it means to be an older adult, and so when you throw that out to kids, most parents are going to say, oh, well, then I need to make my child appear as an older person, and they think of the negative parts of aging, right? Of you know, needing support to walk, so giving their children walkers and canes to use, putting makeup on them to make them look older. You know I've seen comments online around this topic of, oh, you know, he really looked so tired with the makeup on, and you know, and really perpetuating that idea that everyone who reaches an advanced age is crabby or tired or
disabled.
Weak exactly. And it really puts that negative spin on it. So how can we fight those kind of images in a case like that? Or how did you fight it?
So I think fight is a strong word,
yes,
but what I did was I shared my thoughts with the principal, and you know, once she heard what I had to say, she understood, and she invited me to come to Career Day. So a month later, I went to Career Day, and I decided to present to the students some positive points about aging. So we played a little game. It's actually part of Parker's branding training. It's called The Power of Labels. And what we do is we give every kid the opportunity to choose a label in the beginning. So the labels are of negative words. I think some of the words we've talked about already today here: crabby, old, disabled. I think one of our words is wrinkly. Like, these are all really negative words, right? And then I have the children sit down, and they're actually wearing their words, and I had the children sit down, and I said, okay, I said, tell me the word that you chose and why you chose it, and then they told me why. And once everybody had their turn, I said, okay, so tell me, what do you think about these words? What do you see? And the kids were like, well, they're all negative words. And so I said, yes, you're right. And I said, how would you feel if someone described you as old, as wrinkly, as depressed, as sad? And they said, we would feel like we were nothing. And I said, you see, words make worlds, right? So if we think about someone who's old in a negative way, then we're going to possibly treat them negatively, and they're going to feel negatively. So some of what you said before with your research about how sometimes the way we talk about people perpetuates maybe the way we might treat them is probably true. It's probably accurate.
Sure.
So I said, okay, guys, we're going to think about positive words. So I actually showed them a video of some older adults who, some of them are doing great things, and some of them, you know, just regular people, right? And then I said, okay, everyone, go back to your desks and write me some positive words. So I got the best positive words that you could ever see. I got words like tremendous, encouraging, persistent, happy, joyful, loving, you know, and they just felt so much better about those words. And I said, you know, the next time you see someone who's an older adult, I said, try to think of them using the words that you described.
Yeah, I think it's such a powerful assignment, you know, activity to do with anybody really.
Correct.
But you know, children too. It definitely had an impact on the way that they perceive it. Because let's be honest, with anything, these are thoughts and ideas that they learn from the environment around them, right? And so when we can interject something like that into their environment to make them think about it differently, it's a positive thing. So why do you think it's important for us to talk to young people about the aging process and about looking at it in that positive way?
So I think the young people of today are tomorrow's leaders. We already talked about how the aging population is growing exponentially. We already kind of established that there is a strong need for younger people to enter the healthcare field, and if they enter the healthcare field, they are going to encounter the aging population, whether they like it or not. And so therefore, we want to make sure that we are sending positive messages to those young people when they enter those fields. And these fields in aging services and healthcare are very rewarding. People, you know, kids coming out of college, they want to make a difference. They want to do something that makes them feel good. And why not go into this field where they can have that outcome, where they can feel good about doing something good for someone that has maybe given a lot in their previous life. So there's a lot of give and take. They can learn a lot from the people that they're taking care of, and the people who are being given the care can feel good about themselves because perhaps they're sharing a story, they're giving some insight, they're giving some value.
Right. And I think that's such an important part of the message because as you know, working in the field of aging, working with an organization that serves that population, you see it every day, the positive impact that your staff has with the residents and other older adults that come to the different programs at Parker. And so you can see how that positivity is and also see the shortage and where there is need for more people to join that workforce.
Right, and Parker has established a With It campaign, which is actually what we're doing is trying to change the perception of aging in America. So you will see on our With It campaign, you will see pictures of some of the elders who come to our programs who have stories to tell, who are very interesting, who are living life, and the age doesn't matter. That it doesn't matter how old they are, whether they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s. You will see what they're doing and what they're all about. And we encourage others to send us their stories to share with us how they're with it.
Yeah. And I think stories are a great way to get any message across, but in particular on this issue, if we can share stories of positivity and highlight why it's important to think of older adults in a positive light, then I think we can further the message of the radical age movement and others in just kind of as our friends at AARP would say, disrupt aging, right? And really take down those obstacles and barriers to talking about it in a positive way. We can't stop the media from their stuff, and we can't take all the anti-aging products off the counters, but we can change the conversation and the dialogue a little bit amongst ourselves to move that agenda forward, right? It's terrific. I really enjoyed talking with both of you, and I'm so happy that you were able to join us today to share the important message of fighting ageism. And I know you think fighting is a strong word, but I think sometimes we need to be strong against it, right? So I really hope that our audience enjoys the things that you both had to say today. So thanks again for joining us.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank all of you for sharing your time with us today as well. Aging Insights is produced by the New Jersey Foundation for Aging and is made possible by donations to the foundation. To become a sponsor for Aging Insights programs, please go to our website at www.njfoundationforaging.org or call us in the office at 609-421-0206. Our previous episodes may be viewed on our website. And we'd also like to remind you to find out about senior services in your area, please contact your county office on aging. Their numbers are also on our website, or you can call the state hotline at 1-877-222-3737. Thank you for watching this episode of Aging Insights, and remember, aging is everyone's business.